Hello everyone, Mira here. In this video I'm going to show you how you can enhance your workflow with scripted extensions. Now this is something that's brand new in 4.20 release and it's still in beta, so you have to enable it to be able to use it. And it's still not yet there. There are some bugs and it's not polished, but you can already start using them, but expect some weird stuff to happen from time to time. But I definitely recommend to at least give them a shot even though they are still in beta. But once they're out of beta, you should definitely use them every day. So to get started, you need to enable them. Since they are in a beta, you have to go into Editor Preferences first, then into Experimental, and you need to enable ActorActionUtility, or they're called Blutilities. Check that. That is something that has been around for a while now, but it just got better with a plugin that Epic released in 4.20. So you have to go into plugins next, and then type editor, and where it is, editor scripting utilities, and enable that. So when your project restarts, you will be able to create Blutilities now. So if you right click and go into Blueprint, you will be able to create Blutility. And with this release, if you enabled that plugin, you can create ActorActionUtility and AssetActionUtility. So we are going to create both of them now. I'm going to make one for actor and one for asset. So let's call this one generic actor, and this one is going to be an asset, just for tutorial's sake. We're going to do first the actor scripted extension, then we're going to do the asset one. And the actor extension works on actors that are in your level. So when we right click, it's going to work here. But we have to first make it to actually be able to use it. So you cannot double click on it. You have to right click and then edit blueprint. That is how it works. And I already had it open. Did mess a bit and then started the recording again. So first thing that you want to do is make a function. So let's do that. I'm kind of assuming that you have an idea how blueprints work. One thing that's different compared to your regular blueprints is that you have to have this calling editor checked. If you kind of accidentally uncheck that, is not going to work. Now we have to get actors that are in the level. So we say get actors. Get selected level actors. That's the node that we want. I really like the fuzzy search. I can type whatever I want and it still works. That's the awesomeness. And since this is an array, we have to loop through it to be able to modify the actors that are selected. We can select multiple actors, of course. So for each, and then once we looped, we can get each selected item and do something on it. We can do something that's really generic. If we select any actor, I mean absolutely anything in the level has transform. So you could change the mobility, location, scale. That is something that everything has. So we can change maybe the location. That's super simple. So let's start with that. So we're going to say that this function is going to be set location. And then we are going to set location for each array item. And for now, it's just going to reset the location, technically. And when we compile, save, or just hit the play, or not the play, but if we, actually I haven't tried if it's not compiled, but if we right click, I say it's scripted actions, set location. It's going to go down, and it's on 0, 0, 0. Now if I press undo, so if I go undo, as you can see, I cannot undo that action. I'm undoing the clicking on the actor, not the Blutility that just executed. To be able to do that, we have to do something before setting the location. We have to make an undo buffer. So we create a copy in the undo buffer. We do that first. Then when we compile this, I said I'm not going to compile it just to try to see if it works. I usually click that compile button. And let's right click, set location. It's back on 0, 0, 0. But now if I press undo, it's going to go back, which is awesome. Now, what about if you want to set a custom location as example? So you want to do this. You click on set location on the function name here, and you add an input, and we're going to add location. So that is going to be a vector, and it's going to be location. And then we simply plug in here and compile. And I'm kind of used to just hitting play when I'm making code. You don't have to hit play. This is in editor stuff. Right click, set location, and now it's going to give you an option to change the location. And it's there. You can undo, and this works for multiple objects. Let's say we drag in one cube, second cube, third cube, and we select all of them, and we say right click, set location. Not too useful, to be honest, but if we click OK, they're all going to be here, right on top of each other. But that's how it works. The other thing, this currently works for anything. So if I right click on a reflection actor, it should work. Yeah, I can change its location. I can change the location of anything, since anything that's in a level will have transforms. So you can execute this particular code on any actor. With this particular code, what you can do that is kind of fun, you could make a Blutility that duplicates objects and maybe makes an array of objects, maybe a long wall with modular assets. You could have done that with a construction script before, but I don't know, maybe you can find some use with that. So being able to do this through blueprints, and it's freaking awesome. But let's do something that's a bit more complex than this. So I'm going to make a new function, and we're going to change the material first. Then I'm going to do something a bit more complex. So let's make a new function. We're going to set material, and this one is going to be a bit more complex, since let's think about it before we do it. What does have material on it? So we have materials on static meshes, we have it on skeletal meshes. Actually, there's a character. Yeah, but skeletal meshes have materials, so he has materials. And that's pretty much it, what has materials. So we have to grab static mesh or skeletal mesh component to be able to change the material. So that is something that you should check before you start messing around to see what you want to change. So let's do what we did, just to kind of repeat. Get selected level actors. If you get selected assets, that's for content That works in content browser, not in level. That is something we'll do a bit later on. And then we loop for each. Can tidy this up. I'm kind of crazy about this stuff. And then we are going to don't forget about making a undo buffer. Make a copy here before we do anything to it. And then we're going to cast to static mesh actor. Static mesh actor. That's the first thing that we're going to do. Then let me quickly check what next. Okay, so we have to get, as I said, we have to get that component, but since Unreal has that fuzzy search thing that's in context, we can try to do it straight away. So let's try to set material. And it's straight up going to give us a static mesh component and allow us to set the material. Right, cool. You don't have to, you could have said static mesh and then let's actually set get static mesh component and then get this, but you can just try set material and it's going to give you static mesh component, make it easier for you. And what material do we want to set? There's just one basic floor, let's say. That's a pretty simple one. Let's compile. And let's say we right click on this floor. It's using the cube material at the moment, but if we right click and set material, it's going to use this other floor material. Let's say we want to set the materials on these walls. Just right click, set material, set material. Cool. What if we wanted to set the material to specify the material that we are going to set? Where we're going to do what we did with the location. We're going to add the input and then we're going to find the material. And we need object reference. And we need to plug it in here. Once we compile that. And let's say we want to change these wall materials again. Let's right click on them. Set material. Do we have some wall? We probably have. And basic wall. Okay. We have a wall material now on these meshes. Now, what if we want to do something a bit more crazy, right? I'm not going to keep it that simple. Let's say you want to select all static meshes. So you select all static meshes and you want to change one material that exists on multiple meshes, but you're not sure which of those meshes have that material, but you know that if that material exists somewhere in your level, you want to change it. Well, that is something that we can do. So let's do that. First, we're going to add one more material parameter, and we're going to call this one an old material. That's the one that we want to change, and let's make a new. This is the one that we are going to set. And then we are going to compare them. So we are going to compare this old material. Let's make it like this. And we are going to compare it to material that that is on static mesh component. So we are going to get the material from here. And we also can specify the material index. We'll say that we have just one material and not complicate it too much and just change the first material. So if you have something like this guy that has two materials, this is that. It should be that, I think. I haven't tested it. And we're going to compare it. So we're going to say object equals if it's equal. to now we do not want to set this. We want to check if it's equal to this, to the old material. Let me double check that. Okay, we're checking with the old material. If that's true, let's pull this even further and check this. So we are going to branch here. I don't know how this is, how much it's useful, but it's just for demonstration purposes. So let's plug in here and plug in here if it's true. So if those materials, if this old material that we're going to specify is equal to the material that's on a static mesh, we wanna set the new material on a static mesh. So we plug it in here. Maybe we wanna re-wiggle this thing so we know what is going on, where it's plugged in. And I'm not going to compile this just to see what's going to happen. So let's say we select this wall and this floor. They have different materials, right? Let's right click and say if so if we want to change, let's say, this wall material, and let's right click, set material, and because I didn't compile it, we don't have that other material. So what I wanted to check if it's going to compile when I right click. It's not. It's not like hitting play when you have blueprints. So let's set material, and now it's going to ask what material do we want to change. That's the old material. And to what we want to change that. Well, let's say we're going to change it to some brick material. Let's say this new. Well, that's look it looks really crappy because this is super scaled, but you get the idea. You can change the material on if we select everything. Let's undo. It's going to work. So if I select everything and I want to change these 4 materials that are on walls, but maybe there are a whole bunch of walls and I don't want, and I was lazy and didn't name them properly. And I don't know which ones are the one that I want, I can just select all of them and search for that material and then replace it on all static meshes. If you're organized, you won't need something like that. So set material. What do we want to replace? Basic material. What do we want to replace it with? Let's use something that's a single color so we do not stretch the texture. So I'm going to use that floor. And basic floor. Bam. We just changed that, but we had selected everything. I think this is enough demonstration for actors that scripted extensions that work with actors in your level. Let's move on to one that works with assets. Let's open an asset Blutility, and we are going to... I'm not going to get used to that, just double clicking. I'm really hoping that that's going to change in the next release of the engine or some update. So right click, edit, and what we are going to make is an Blutility that is going to change... Let's sort the textures. You know, when you import the textures and the parameters are not what you want, this usually happens if you're doing some 2D or you're importing textures for UI. Let me bring one texture. So let me see where are those textures that I have. I have some UI stuff, and I will bring just one PNG. And you can see we cannot even see it. So of course it's not set up correctly. If we double click and open it, at least it set itself to no MIP map. That's cool. But we have to say texture group UI, and once we do that, it's going to work. And we can also change the compression to user interface if you want it. I think it works even with normal compression, but you can also change this. And what if I, let's say, bring more in? Let's say, for demonstration, bring 2 more in. Now you could go in and edit this one, say like that, then this one, then that's painful, isn't it? Well, we had something before. We just select them, right click, asset action, bulk edit to your property metrics. These things saves time, and you can change everything here. So you could change this to UI from here, and once you save, it's going to work. But maybe you don't want to go through that pain, and you can set up a few asset scripts that work on assets, and then you can do this with just selecting right click and doing 1 click there. So let's do that. I'm going to close this one. So what we have to get here before, of course, make a function. So set texture UI. Let's say that's what we're going to do. So we need to now get asset, get selected assets. And that is similar as we did. We need to loop for each. Then we have to, for each element, we are going to cast to texture. We can also, even before that, make that undo buffer and plug this in. So we have that. And now we can, since we know that we have a texture, we can see what we want to set. So open a texture and see that we want to set, what do we want to set? Texture group and compression settings. So we want to set, could actually have this stay here. So we want to set texture group, set texture group, and it's currently on world. We can set that to UI. We could also bring in parameters with as we did before. But let's say I just want to, I don't want to click through the menus. I just want to click on that script, and it should just execute that. And it only works on textures, so it's not going to be too much in a way. And we also want to set compression. Set compression setting. And we want that on the UI. And once we plug in that, we also want to save the asset. Save loaded asset. That should work. This didn't work for everything. I experimented with few other things. I tried to change the brightness of the texture, because that was something that would be obvious when you do it, and that didn't work. It changes the value, but it doesn't change the texture. Not in here, not in level. So some of this stuff still doesn't work as it should. So just be careful when you do something like this. Double check if it's working. When it gets out of the beta, then it's going to be fine probably. So we compile this and let's try it out. So when I right click and say scripted actions and set UI, let's set on these two textures. Set UI, bam, it worked. It's awesome. Now here's the thing, this is going to work on anything, and that's not good. While we are casting to texture and that's not going to make a problem, there's a better way to do this. So let's do that. We have to override one function. So we say override and supported classes. And currently everything is supported, so you just unhook this and say we want to support just the texture. And we compile. And then if I right click on this, I get set texture UI. If I click on this, I don't get that, which is really, really, really good. And that is something that you should definitely do. So you could have some Blutilities that work just on textures and have all the logic for textures in one Blutility. Then you can have one for materials, one for you name it. Or you could make one monolithic one with everything that you want. But then you have to be careful on what you right click and execute it. And it's going to be, if you make lots and lots of functions, it's going to be overpopulated. So I think it's better way to create one Blutility for each type of asset that you want to work with. So if you want to have one for textures, one for materials, and so on. And let's fix this one. So this one also works. If I click on player start, I can set material to it, and that's going to break it. So let's open this one. That's yeah, don't want to do that. Right click, edit blueprint, and let's fix it. So let's override supported classes, and it's going to work just on materials. On materials. Listen to me. On static meshes. And we have to say static mesh actor, not static mesh actor, and compile it. And since we can set location on static mesh actors, that's perfectly fine. But if we had some function that was for something else, we could remove it. So I would actually recommend removing this set location and then making another Blutility that's maybe universal to everything, and then you can have that one set the locations for anything, set for reflection actor, for what you want, but the one that sets materials only sets it on static meshes. So now if I try to right click on this guy, this is a skeletal mesh, it's not going to be there, but if I click on this, I can set the material. So just be aware of that, because if you do not set it right, you might crash your engine or something worse. Probably not that big of a deal, but just so you do not get in that trouble. So guys, I've been a tiny bit rambling at the end. That's my style. I always do that, no matter how much I try to be to the point, but I want to give you as much information as I could. So if you enjoy the videos, make sure you like it and subscribe to the channel for more, and see you in the next one.